So there's my three members of my audience, and here we go. I've had many interesting games of golf in my life. I've scored in the high hundreds, and I've scored in the low 90s. I've had birdies, pars, bogeys, double bogeys, and triple bogeys. We all play the game to enjoy the outdoors and the scenery that comes along with playing golf. We play golf with our friends a lot, and sometimes these friends will heckle you. They do this because they like you or because they're trying to get in your head if there is money involved. No matter how bad you are playing, you have to remember why you're playing golf. It's to enjoy the game and have some good laughs. This poem is by Vic Pister and is called The Hooker. It was in the mists of the morning, beneath the rising morning sun, we had come to conquer Fort Langley. It was me, Al, and John. We all teed off quite nicely. On number 1, I scored a 7, but Al warned me, 1 is easy when compared to number 11. His eyes clouded as he spoke of it. I thought, God, it must be tough. If it's difficult for Alan, for me it's going to be real rough. Now Alan is a golfer, par excellence, among the best, but we could see that number 11 had put him to the test. Well, we carried on like troopers. We thrashed 3 and 4 and 5 in the cool Fort Langley morning. It felt great to be alive. We left 6 fairways smoking, 7 posed a little hitch. John and Al were in the fairway, while I had smoked one into the ditch. Al was getting on a roll now, blasting off just like a gun, but John was coming on like blazes, nipping hard on Alan's buns. We drove off on number 9 hole, blasting off out into space. In the distance stood 11. We saw the tension on Alan's face. For 11 is a nightmare reserved only for the deaf. For pressing hard against you is the river on the left. It appeared that Al had been there before, for his trembling would not cease. As we walked toward the tee box, Al dropped briefly to his knees. We could feel the tension mounting. By Alan's eyes, we could clearly tell that the 3 of us were standing at the gates of golfer's hell. John was first up to the tee box, drove a beauty down the pike. I was next, drove off nicely, center line and slightly right. Al approached like he was frozen by the fears of hooking left, but he mustered up his composure till he seemed quite calm and deft. Be careful, Al, we cautioned him, for on the left beyond those oaks, you'll be straight into the river, and that'll cost you 2 strokes. Al teed up and drove his ball off, picked his head up for a look. It was far and straight and pretty, then, oh my God, it started to hook. It disappeared beyond the treetops. Alan's jaw dropped in a gasp. In the distance, we were certain that we heard a little splash. Now, Alan is a scholar, disposed to being kind, but he muttered as we snickered at something about kissing his behind. Al said, damn, I'm shooting 3 now. No, I think it's more. John said, counting 2 for penalty, I think you're shooting 4. Al bent down to tee another, lined up carefully to the right, then leaned into the sucker and pounded out with all of his might. Once again, rose like lightning exploding out into the sky, but when Al looked up to see, he could not believe his eyes. It was hooking for the river and disappeared into the heaven. 4, cried Al in horror. John said, no, I think it's 7. Al was losing his composure and crumbling from the stress, but he knew he had to do it and overcome his sheer distress. Once again, he teed up the ball, took his time to take his aim. Let her rip and hit a beauty, but oh my God, it did the same. 4, croaked Alan weakly as I fumbled for my pen. John said, don't forget about the penalty. I think you're now shooting 10. Al staggered to his golf bag, his knees weak, soft as butter. He fumbled with his golf clubs and finally pulled out his putter. It was only with much urging he agreed to try it one more time. This time he hit a beauty straight down the field on the center line. As we helped Al down the fairway walking off the 11th tee, we thought we heard the devil laughing through the breezes in the trees. We could see that Al was hurting. We knew he'd never be the same, but don't believe him when he tells you that he's given up the game. He'll be golfing till he dies. We think he's really hooked on the sport. But Al, as a professional golfer, you're coming up a little short. And that was the poem that I decided to choose. And my audience is still here.